The day went by so slow we hadn't made it that far, in all honesty. Any rider from the herd could have met up with us easily at a trot, but we knew it was going to be a slow start. I walked to Tropos next to Henry and Rose. "How are you doing?" "Better than the city, and Rose Red here, she's taken good care of me." "Good. I did think of something to ask you, if you don't mind." "Ask away." He looked over to me curiously. His smile was so kind and calm, much different than anyone else's I had come across, but yet familiar, which was somewhat made me go off track in thought, but snapping out of it, I asked, "Henry, it had to take you months to get to us even by horse. There's much land to cover. How did you manage to make it on foot?" "Do you mean water and food supplies?" I simply nodded as he just began to answer. "Well, I'm not a big eater for one. I carry with me a small water maker. Not enough to survive on a daily basis, but when water can't be found, it helps. As for food, I started off with some dried fish and bread. Can't stand the smell of fish or the taste for the matter of it. Some form of irony, I live with the sea people whose diet is mostly fish, but I bear it more so for my children. On the way, I did of course run out of food, but I always carry a bag of sweets that tends to be good for trades. I can barter one piece for a whole chicken cooked, or a leg of something or other. There are times when even that runs out, but I'm not a hunter, nor do I care for the sight of blood. It takes me back too far, so I tend to forage about. Father had me read many books on edible flora and fauna. But I do like to fast. It does seem to help, or at least keep my mind off the pain in my head. I noticed you started calling him father again. May I ask why?" Henry's face changed to more of a firmness. "Have I?" "Yes." Perhaps out of habit, but could I ask you a favor, Vita?" "Of course, if it's possible." "Please correct me if you hear it again. I do not see it as my father, nor will I ever." "I can do that for you." "Thank you, my dear. I must warn I may raise my voice, but it is not at you. I do try to control it, but sometimes the pain wins." "I understand. When we do kill Harolds, do you think it will really help?" "It will die down, but it will still be there. There seems to be something stronger than Foth. It in my body, and I worry if it can take over me." Dr. Furnius came over. "I won't let that happen, Henry. You are like a son. You are worth so much, Henry. I wish you could see that. From the day you were brought into my arms, well, you have the same eyes. They haven't changed, always so blue and full of life. I promised myself I would help you in any way I could." "Come on, Dr. Fern, you are getting all soft on me. You're going to make it this awkward?" "I've told you so many times, will it ever stick?" "I know you care about me, Doc, but death would have been welcomed. No, Henry, I can't see it that way, not for you. You could have kept my blue eyes in a jar." Henry laughed. "Stop being so morbid, Henry." Henry looked over to me. "I forgot the dear lady was here, my apologies." I looked toward him, slightly smiling. "I get it, but we are glad you are here." "That is surprising. If you think about it, if it wasn't for me, you could go back home to your family." "I think we would be on this journey with or without you." Henry seemed puzzled. "And why do you think that?" I held my words a moment as I looked to Colt up ahead, as the last little bit of light was leaving the sky and Mac's horn turned on, showing a soft glow. "I don't know." The night was here, and Colt looked back to us. "We will stop up ahead in the tree line for the night. We start early in the morning. Let's see if you can handle a trot, Doc." With that, Mac started to trot toward the trees, followed by Henry and myself, the Doc the furthest behind. Old Drum had the funniest trot with his tiny steps, but even with that, Furnius was clinging to Drum's neck for dear life. I slowed down going to him. This blasted thing, oi, bit my lip. Furnius grumbled. "It will be all right, Doc. Sit up. Focus on relaxing your body, keeping your weight in your heels, and using your seat to absorb the horse's movement by allowing your hips and knees to flex with each stride." Still holding to the horse's neck, he talked with the trot's jitter to his voice. "My dear, if a doctor was supposed to flex knees and hips, I'd be in a different profession altogether." I couldn't quite understand what he meant by it, but Henry seemed to be almost laughing as he spoke. "No one wants to see you in heels, Fern." Then I understood, slightly blushing. "Nevertheless, try it. We may have to run at some points in this journey, and we will need you to keep up." Colt was already coming up. "You didn't have to turn around for us. We would have been there soon enough." "And what type of leader is that?" We are only as strong as the weakest member of our small herd. For the time being, I will take on teaching the doctor the ways of riding." We all made it to the tree line slowly but surely. Henry removed himself from Rose. "Well, that's just how I remembered it. Going to be some time getting used to riding again. Need help getting down, Doc?" "Yes, thank you." "No, he doesn't," Colt spoke up. "What do you mean?" "I told you I'm taking over teaching you the basic skills. We are going to ride just over there till you can manage a fast trot." "Look here, Colt, you may be the herd leader, but I am not one of your herd. My bones are aching and tired. I'm filthy, covered in dirt and horsehair. This beast is overly flatulent, which has made this unbearable. I just want to get off this thing and clean off." "You are one of the herd as long as you are with us. That is how I was able to let you stay from behind bars, not by my judgment, but snow feathers. You just didn't need to know until now, and I keep my entire herd safe. You will stay on that horse, and you will ride with me till dawn if that is what it takes. But I think you are a quick learner, so let's see if it's true. As for cleaning up, well, we won't be wasting water on that. So soon you won't have to worry about the smells of Old Drum, because you will be joining him in scent." Dr. Furnius and Colt never really ever had seen eye to eye. "Very well," Furnius gritting at his teeth. Good was all Colt said to him as he walked off on Mac with Old Drum following behind. He turned to me. "I won't be far off. If you need me, I'll be here within a moment." "We will be all right." I jumped off Atropos. Henry came over to me, pulling from my horse a rolled-up sleeping bag, taking it and laying it out. "Thanks, but I can handle it," I spoke softly. "I know you can, but still the one thing I can offer is my manners." "Then thank you. You're most welcome." We unsaddled the horses and let them off to graze. We had packed many dried foods, especially meats, plenty to last for some time. I handed Henry the day's rationing in a bag as I retrieved mine. We will probably be eating a breakfast on the move and not stopping for a lunch. Colt really was never accustomed to eating a lunch. Sorry if it's not what you're used to. I'm not worried about it. Food is not my first priority, on the other hand. I think the good doctor is used to missed meals way too often in his line of work, as well as lack of sleep. Come to think of it, he should manage just fine. Nevertheless, if Colt is too hard on either one of you, just let him know. Colt knows what he's doing, and your safety is at the top of his list. He won't let anyone change that. But speaking of you, dear Vida, how are you? Giving birth just days ago, surely there's complications with riding and? Well, maybe I'm too forward, but having so many wives in my past, I know some things that other men might not take into account, such as, he coughed slightly, bleeding and milk gorging. I tried not to look mortified as I swallowed a piece of bread. "Oh, that? Well, don't concern yourself. My milk supply has always been on the lower side. The babies are put on mare's milk soon after birth, pretty much after they get the colostrum. On the other hand, I'd rather not discuss the other, but I am used to herd life and what it entails." Henry looked to me sheepishly. "Well, I will speak up for you if you need me to." "I can tell Colt anything. But will you?" Henry slightly looked curious, then changed the subject as he looked over to Colt and Furnius in the distance. "Seem they will be there for some time. We might as well get some sleep." I nodded in agreement. We finished our meals, and I laid down in the sleeping bag. I looked over to Henry lying on the grass. "We did pack you a sleeping bag, you know." "Oh, I am very well aware of it, but I am accustomed to the ground nowadays, and well, to be honest, if anything came our way, I'd like to not be trapped trying to free myself from a bag." "Do as you please, you sound like Colt, but I like the warmth. It's worth the risk to me." Henry just slightly chuckled, laying far off in the grass. "Well, sleep well, Vida. The night is so clear you can see all the stars." I yawned, turning to my side. "Good night." I hadn't heard the horses come in. Colt had left them in the field to graze with the others, except Mac, of course, who just stayed with them for the company. Colt was already up. I hadn't been sure if he even slept. Fern was still sleeping, curled up in his sleeping bag. Colt walked over gently, kicked his shoulder. "Come on, time to get up." Furnius turned over, sitting up without complaint. Henry was already on Rose, saddled. Colt had resaddled Old Drum for the doctor as well as Atropos already. Colt came over to me, helping me stand, giving me a kiss on the forehead. "You all right?" Yeah, I'm fine, I whispered in his ear. Take it easy on Furnius, like it or not, he would be an elder. Colt smirked. He will be just fine, won't you, Furnius? Furnius looked over. Long as you don't start kissing me on the forehead, I prefer the kick wake-up call. Colt shook his head slightly, looking down, giving Furnius a lift onto Old Drum. I climbed on Atropos and Colt onto Mac. We started for about an hour at a trot, till Colt slowed down, pulling some more small food bags from his horse. Inside was some salted cured eggs and some bread with some raisins. He handed them out to each of us as we rode. We are making better time today. With this pace we will get there on time, but I wish to return home as soon as possible, so we will be riding as hard as we can manage. I know it will seem as though I'm hard on each of you at some point in the coming month, but no, it is for your safety. Henry, who was nibbling on the bread, chimed up. Lead away, can't be harder than getting here. The doctor looked to Colt. I will keep up the best I can. Henry looked to Fern. Oh, come on, for you this should be a vacation with the hours you keep. Colt looked to them. We will be traveling without much talk. We need to keep on guard. There are solos who have been known to harm or kill if not given their way. We are still close enough to the herd. They won't be a problem for a while, but I don't want any of you to get used to talking while on a horse. The lips are quiet. Solos? Furnius questioned. Men or women on their own with no herd, sometimes desperate. Just keep it quiet so we don't draw unwanted attention. Only speak if you think it's important. I was used to the rules, so it was no surprise to me. On the other hand, I knew Furnius to be a chatterer, so we would see if he could handle it.